Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Bigfoot Bill 2, Finger of Poseidon. So, for those who remember the Earthworm Jim launched the cow review, this little comic, which is a 24-page comic, actually came with the Earthworm Jim hardcover book. And I thought it was pretty cool, and I didn't want to tie this with the Earthworm Jim review, so I'm gonna do a review on it by itself. Uh, so the quick summary is kind of the same deal as Earthworm Jim. In some ways, a little worse, and here let me explain why. First off, again, Doug TenNapel's art is really good, very stylized. So not exactly something that you would say is like '90s style, but it looks good, and I like the coloring is really on spot too. Here's the problem. So we get a nice little paragraph that explains Bigfoot Bill, which I appreciate because I didn't read Bigfoot Bill, and as far as what I'm assuming the story of. Here's the issue, and that is like I'm actually not a huge fan of this. I don't know, maybe it's my love of old school comics. I much would rather prefer I see caption runs or narration captions within the comic rather than this. Because you're going to find out the problem with this method right here is that Doug spends a lot of time explaining the story, but he doesn't spend a lot of time explaining the characters. And so what ends up happening here is I know this is Bigfoot Bill because that's what the cover says. You kind of have to infer that this is Kraken later on. So this guy, Chupacabra, which again we don't know till it's explained later, he comes in to attack Bigfoot Bill. Then Kraken eats him. He gets transported to a realm somewhere else, and a lot of silly Billy humor that Doug is kind of known for. And yeah, and just kind of weird moments. Then you have this character kind of get introduced right here, and again, she's not really introduced at all. Later on, you know that hey, this is Sharon, and from inference again, but you don't really know what her purpose in the whole story is. Same with this character as well, and you know that's kind of the problem with this is that if you would have spent a lot of time explaining the characters too, it would have taken up more of this page. It would have gotten pretty crowded. What it would have been better instead is just maybe put the credits or some nice art. Instead, make caption runs. Like look at how much dead space is in this artwork right here. Easy right here. Bigfoot Bill and Kraken. And then whoever this little dragon is, right? Same thing with this character. Just to look at all the dead space that you have to do this stuff. Like I think what Doug kind of needs here is just an editor to come in and just take advantage of all this dead space to kind of explain the comic a little better. Again, and here's the problem, right? Like you could argue, like, well, you have to go read Bigfoot Bill in order to understand it. Bigfoot Bill is an indie campaign, so it's not that easy to get a hold of. So, and also, honestly, I really despise that, and I'm not saying I despise Doug, but I kind of despise that attitude of modern comics where, read, issues 1 through 30 to figure out what the hell happens. Oh, so you mean, spend a couple $100 to figure out what happens. Or you could take advantage of all this dead space and just use captions. Like, I don't get it. It is a comic book, and visually, yeah, it needs to be good, but it's also a book. So let's use some text here, right? Again, like look at all this dead space, things that we could use, right? Getting back to the story, I'm just gonna skip this because it doesn't matter. We get here, and here's Poseidon. He's like in the middle of nowhere, someplace. I don't know if this is L.A. or something. And then this guy, Skunk Ape, and Jersey Devil kind of team up with him. And then they get accosted by these dudes who I don't know who they are. I'm assuming they're government agents or something for the whatchamacallit, the crypto zone that Doug describes in the beginning. Again, really cool action and great visual storytelling. Just unfortunately, it needs some narration because you can't explain everything just with the art. I feel like I'm in a minority with this opinion, but that's kind of my thoughts here. Like I don't know what the hell's going on. This is kind of funny. He uses his skunk power to freaking get them to get them choking off. Uh, Again, new character not introduced at all. Maybe that's the what he was going after. That this character's supposed to be secretive because he's kind of got like a GI Joe ninja look to him, and he beats the crap out of Skunk Ape. And then we get the General Skinner. I'm assuming he was in the previous book, and then talking her. Well, I don't know who her is, but probably some interlude to get you to buy Bigfoot Bill 2. So that's cool. So again, more silly Billy humor. Like there was a lot of this in Earthworm Jim as well. Just kind of like silly Billy food humor. And I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. But I can imagine, you might be a fan of it. I don't know. This stuff doesn't do anything for me. I don't want to be mean or anything. It's just not my cup of tea. So he got fired. We find that out right here. That actually would have been really nice. A caption would have been pretty cool, or maybe use more artwork to do that. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I should stop bagging newer comics for not doing what older comics do. But then I realize when I read an older comic that, no, I think newer comics should go back and do what older comics do. Again, you don't take my opinions too seriously. It's just my thoughts on it. I don't know why you have to change or why you don't have to do, or why you have to change something that worked, right? Anyhow, so these two, we get a little backstory that he's kind of like into her. They go and they get, and she's talking about what happened to her at the night with the tree dude, and then you get a little bit of sort of enticement to get you to go in and buy Bigfoot or Bigfoot Bill 2. I guess this is chapter 1, Fathers and Sons. Okay, so what this is this is the first chapter of Bigfoot Bill 2. He puts it in like an actual true comic book form, so I almost think like it is Bigfoot Bill 2. But there's like no number 1 here or anything. It's kind of interesting, so I guess maybe he went like manga style or something. Yeah, anyhow, yeah, kind of the same deal as Earthworm Jim. This isn't really my cup of tea humor-wise. I do really like the art, and I like the visual storytelling that Doug does, and I do like the coloring. The coloring is really cool. Who's the colorist? It's just plain Jane, but it's executed really well. Colors by Gabe L. Tabe. Yeah, he did a good job. I like the colors. It fits with the art style very well. I'm just not a fan of just the lack of narration and the lack of just, I don't know, traditional comic book techniques. I think if you get the whole book, obviously, and you are really a big fan of Bigfoot Bill, then this will work fine for you. But just for me, this whole thing, especially if you just picked up Earthworm Jim and this is trying to get you to buy Bigfoot Bill, very confusing, this comic. So yeah, that's it. Anyhow, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. If you have any comments about Bigfoot Bill, the original, number 2, or this little micro comment, leave them down below, and I will see you next time.